Hi guys, this is Jenny from Center Petals, where you can find tips and tricks about flowers and floral design. If that interests you, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. Today we're going to make this tulip and jelly bean arrangement, and I'm going to actually quickly go over the supplies you need for that before we get started. So you'll need 2 vases, one that fits inside the other, with enough room in between the 2 vases so that you can put your jelly beans in between the 2. A couple bags of jelly beans. I used the Jolly Rancher jelly beans wild berry flavor, and that's just because I like the colors that they were. You'll need some wet tape if you have it. If you don't, not a big deal. You don't have to use it. We used green, but you could also use clear. Some clippers or something to cut your flowers with. Let's see. Scissors to open your flower packages. In our arrangement, we wound up using 35 stems for the arrangement, but it definitely, if you want a fuller arrangement, you can use more. I wouldn't necessarily go less unless your vases are smaller than these ones here. Water pitcher or watering can to fill up your inside vase with water more easily. We did mix in some flower food into that already. Make sure you follow the directions on whatever kind of flower food you use. And then I also use a wooden spoon just to mix in my flower food into the water good. So those are the supplies you need. My sister Jessie actually joined me for making this arrangement in celebration of Sibling Day and Easter and spring, and just needing some fun, colorful arrangement in our life. So here's us making the arrangement together. So we're going to make an arrangement that has jelly beans on the outside and tulips on the inside. And to do that, we're going to take 2 vases, and we're going to start by putting the smaller one in the big one. So let's just put them in here. We're going to put them in between the 2 vases. Carefully, maybe. And we're going to just do that until it's all the way full. I'm not really doing any kind of pattern or anything, because we're going to just have it all full. It's going to be completely random colors. But you definitely could, if you wanted to, do more design to it. You're feeling fancy and whatnot. See, in between. And this would also work with different vase shapes. Like you could do a square inside a square, or square inside on the outside, and a smaller like mason jar type vase on the inside. You just want to make sure that there's plenty of room in between the 2 vases, that you're going to fit your jelly beans or whatever in there, and that the inside vase isn't too small in comparison to the outside vase. Otherwise, you're just going to get a smaller looking arrangement that doesn't look proportional for the outside vase. Good. Like yours, you could try to shake it down so you're filling all the way around. I have that problem on this side too. To kind of just jiggle it down. Could also, let's see, take some scissors. I'm about done with mine. I do have a couple little spots down here but I'm okay with that. That doesn't really bother me. So just kind of however you're okay when you're happy with it. And I filled it to the top of the inside vase because we don't want it spilling over into the water there. Just kind of tuck these last ones in. I want to keep in mind when you're finding your jelly beans or whatever, I probably wouldn't do any chocolate kind of thing because that might melt depending on where you're putting it. But the smaller, the better. It's going to fit in between your outside vase and your inside vase, and just keep that space that you have in mind. There's definitely bigger sized jelly beans at the grocery store that I could have gotten, but these just seemed better for what we're doing. Okay, so now we're going to pour some water into the inside vase only. You want to try to avoid getting that in the outside vase because it'll become a sticky, goopy mess with your candy. I already mixed in flour food into this water. And so we're doing about halfway full. So we can always add more water later. And so there's that for you. This isn't 100% necessary, but if you happen to have some wet floral tape, you can use that, and that will help stable the flowers as we put them in. I'm just going to do an X shape on the inside of the vase, or the inside vase, just to help us place our flowers a little bit easier. These are the tulips I got. I got enough. And again, I was guessing on how many I need because each arrangement, even though I've done this size before, kind of varies a little bit. But I guessed 35 stems of tulips for each of us. So that's going to be 1 pack of yellow, pink, and purple for each, and then we're going to split the white one. So our objective goal here is to have the tulips come up and kind of drape over a little bit to help hide the outside rim and top here. And just looking to see at which tulips are kind of going to do that for me at the moment. So I'm going to go with the pink, but you can definitely go with whatever you want. So we're just going to cut. And tulips are pretty easy to find, especially in the springtime. This is a 10-stem bunch for $8. I've also seen them for 5-stem bunches for $4. So it's the same, but you could do a bigger variety of colors with a smaller bunch of flowers. So tulips are actually weird in the sense that you actually don't need to cut them unless you want them shorter, which is different than other flowers where you always want to cut them before you put them in water. And since this guy is pretty tall, that's way taller than I want, I'm going to cut it down. The way I do it is, I call it the measure and cut method. And I measure against my base to see about how tall I want it. So this is maybe that tallish. And then I'm just going to snip it off at an angle right there. And we're just going to stick it in. And it's going to flop around a little bit, but we'll fix that as we go. And you can actually I'm going to do groups of about 3 or 4 of the same color in the same area. So this one I want a little bit shorter, just to give it some more dimension. And tulips are actually also a little different because they will continue to grow even after they're cut. So. And when I'm, this bottom leaf here isn't really doing anything for the arrangement. I'm going to just take it off, and to do that, you just kind of peel it off. Comes right off, no biggie. So spread those out a little bit. And then I'm going to do the same diagonal from my pink tulips. I'm going to do the same type of thing. You can turn this too so you can see more of how you're doing. So these couple other ones I want a little bit longer so that they're kind of even out both sides. So for these last two pink tulips that I have, I'm going to kind of make them stand up straighter a little bit more, just to kind of take your eye across the arrangement. And so these are going to be a little bit taller. And I kind of just, at this moment, they're just kind of propped up there, but we'll get them so that they stay. One thing I forgot to mention is that it's handy is to have a bucket for your garbage. Or a garbage can. That works too. Okay, so I'm going to do the purple ones next. And we're going to go, now it'll be diagonal across the other way, across the arrangement. Now I'm looking at my arrangement, and you kind of want it evenly spaced at this point, but I noticed right here there's a big hole, so I'm going to put my flower there. There, just to help fill it in a little bit. And these pink ones we're going to just kind of work back into where they're kind of more upright a little bit. So normally I would say that arrangements need a greenery foundation, especially when you're learning how to do arrangements. But tulips already have tons of greenery on them, and they're pretty leathery kind of stems. They're kind of like, they're not sticky, but they kind of tend to stick to each other, would you say? Mm-hmm. So they kind of hold each other in place, and that's helps so you don't need the extra greenery. And then I also personally think tulips look the best when they're by themselves, when they just have a big old bouquet of tulips versus doing like a mixed bouquet kind of thing. They definitely look good in that, but I just personally like tulips with other tulips. So our third color is going to be a little bit different. We're going to just help fill in the arrangements that need it. But we're also going to try to keep it in the diagonal also. So like for mine, you kind of can see like there's a hole right here. There's a hole right here on this back side. There's a hole here, here. So we're just gonna fill in the little gaps everywhere. Fill in the gaps.
They're not really sticking out, but
so let's see, with yours, I would just, you can pull them out a little bit. They don't necessarily have to be long enough, but we're just gonna tug on them a little, and that helps pull them out. So just a little bit there. This guy fell over. So I'm just going to find a different spot to stick it in, but kind of work it in there, but it still will help keep it up a little bit more. So this guy, same kind of thing. Let's work it across onto the other side is where we're going to aim to stick the stem. And then we'll go into your spot a little bit more. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, some fun facts about tulips. If you like your fun facts. In the 1600s, so mind you, what, 400 years ago, tulips were so expensive, they were cost more than a house did at that time. Which is crazy. Can you imagine paying for like a flower bulb more than a house? Like, that's ridiculous. Obviously the price of them have come down since then. And that time was actually called Tulip Mania, and it was pretty like everybody wanted tulips, and it was like gold kind of thing. And tulips are also considered perfectly like symmetrical, I guess. Or if you look at it, it's pretty like even Steven all the way around. Mm-hmm. I think I read somewhere too that there's like 1,300 different kinds of tulips or something like that. Just all the different shades and colors and variegations. And then you can also get some that are called like fancy, like they're called fancy tulips. Mm-hmm. Or parrot tulips that can have like ruffled edges and stuff. So there's like tons of kinds. The only color of tulip that there isn't is like a blue color. There is one that is called blue, I believe, but it's more purpley blue. It's not like a true blue. For some reason, true blue color in flowers and in nature is very hard for nature to make for some reason. So you won't find natural blue flowers. So even as we're like making the arrangements, I can already tell that my tulips are kind of adjusting towards the light source. And so that's when you're making tulip arrangements, don't be afraid to adjust as you need to. Or as I like to call it, fluff and fill. So again, especially when you get the tulips more filled in and whatnot, it's gonna be harder to get the stems in, and so you just kind of like twist it in a little bit, and it will go in more easily. So this guy's gonna be a little longer. How's it going?
Good, I'm liking it.
Good. So again, like some of these shorter guys in here look really great, but they will get taller, so don't worry about them being like too short or anything, because they will, like tomorrow, you'll see them taller. So the white is our last color. We're each only going to have 5 of those, so they're going to be a little bit more strategically placed in the arrangement, just to help fill in the little bit of space there is here and there. Yeah, it's looking really good though. Ooh, look at this one. It's got a double head, like a Siamese looking guy. I don't know if you see that. It's got 2 heads on it. Just kind of a happy accident there. So stick one. Kind of put the center there. And during the springtime is when tulips are mostly in season. You can get them from about October usually through, not usually till Mother's Day, but at least until Easter. Easter is a big tulip holiday. And in the springtime, there's a ton more colors and varieties though. And a lot of grocery stores especially will get what is called field tulips, where like this guy is, you know, a good foot long or whatever to start. The field tulips are going to be probably at least half of that because they're cut right out of the field. We actually we're in Oregon, so we have a tulip field in Woodburn that's really fun to go to. I know there's some tulip fields also up in Washington, but a lot of other places, like the biggest export of tulips in the world, can you guess?
The Netherlands.
Yes. Holland is like the biggest exporter. California and Florida, I believe. I know California for sure, but I think Florida too is a huge U.S. producers of tulips because everything grows there. So just as how I'm deciding where to put mine at. So I'm just looking at it overall, the overall shape of it, and being like, oh, there's a little spot right here that could use a flower. And that's just how you fill things in there. So there we go, there's that. And now I'm going to turn it. Just these guys a little smidge bit. Smidge bit. Is that a new word there? Technical terms here. Little smidge more. Smidge bit more. My new word for today. You could definitely, if you wanted to, like we wound up starting where pink went across like this. You could do it where they're going across this way and across this way if you wanted to, so that it's more evenly spaced, but it's kind of however you want to do it. I tend to like colors in groups for some reason. I just like the way it looks. So, are you happy with yours?
I am. One last flower.
So let's see.
I'm thinking in here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna bring this guy out a little bit. So just a smidge bit. And that pink guy could go like right in here, this area. Let's go. Couple last minute tips here. You want to make sure your inside vase remains full. You can do that using like a little watering can or pitcher water to help get the water inside the inside vase. And if your tulips are looking good for a while and you feel like you want to change the water in like 2 to 3 days and not mess up your candy on the outside, I've used actually like a turkey baster to like suck up the water and then just use a watering can to refill it. So just little tidbits there. But the tulips themselves, when they're this open, this will last for a good 5 to 6 days, depending on like how warm the area is and whatnot. And yeah. So did you find this easier than other arrangements we've done together?
Yeah, I think it was easier. I think having the one type of flower helps. Yeah, it definitely helps especially when you aren't used to arranging flowers to start with, where it doesn't really matter. It's not really obvious where you're going wrong necessarily or whatever. And if you need more help making centerpieces, you can check out my free 8-step beginner's guide to pro centerpieces. You can find that at centerpetals.com/guide. The link for that will also be in the description below. If you have any questions about our arrangements, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye. It's gonna take forever. Okay. Like staring on my glasses. I won't do the intro without you. Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
this. I'm like legit sweating. Even yeah, you haven't been to London, so but if you ride the their like subway system, the tube, they actually always say, "Mind the gap, mind the gap." We did like the same motion. That's great.